Thank you, Ignite Church, so much for just taking a few moments with me and just sharing a time of devotion. I really appreciate that. But I'm going to share a verse that I kind of stumbled across recently in preparing something else for Radiate Youth, and that is Hebrews 10, verses 23 through 25. And they're actually one of my favorite passages in the Bible. And again, I just kind of stumbled upon it in preparing something else. And so we're just going to go verse by verse, and then I'm going to give some overall thoughts at the end. Hebrews 10, verse 23. It says, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful." There, do you notice the word unswervingly? I love that word unswervingly, and it's one that's not used a ton. You won't hear it a whole lot, but I love that it's saying, let the church, let us hold fast. Let us hold steady to the hope that we profess in God. And the unswervingly word comes in there, that we're not to swerve to the right, we're not to swerve to the left, but we're to be not easily shaken, not easily moved in the hope that we have in our God. And then it gives the reason why. Why can we not be moved? Why can we be unswerving? Because our God is faithful. And then verse 24 says this, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds." This one is a little bit more special to me because I've been pretty open and frequently talking about my youth pastor and the impact that he had on my life, because I had 5 or 6 years with him. And then right before my senior year, he actually said that he was going to take a step back and that he was going to leave the church that he was at to go be a lead pastor at another church in Alabama. And obviously I was heartbroken. I was pretty devastated about it, but he left us with this challenge that we are to spur one another on towards love and good deeds. And I'll never forget, he always used to say spur in a very funny way. He used to say, spur. Let us spur one another on. And it's kind of weird and just kind of strange, but that word spur there, it means to strongly urge. It means to strongly encourage, or even the word accelerate. So in other words, what this passage, the writer of Hebrews is telling us, let us accelerate the love and the good deeds in each other's lives by the way that we live. And so we are the church, Ignite, and we are to accelerate love and good deeds in each other's lives. And then verse 25. It says, "Not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." So I love there that it seems like the writer of Hebrews is almost throwing some kind of shade in a way, right? Like there are some churches around this writer that are not meeting together. And he says that that's not the way that it should be. The church should not give up meeting together because it's so, so important. Now, just for some overall thoughts as we kind of wrap up, and I'll go in reverse order from 25 back to 23. So the writer of Hebrews basically kind of wrote our core value, this idea that church is not an event or a building. And I love that this pandemic, that this coronavirus there are a lot of negative effects, and there's very serious and real things happening surrounding this, but it's also bringing out some good things, and God is doing some good works within it. And that this pandemic has drawn out this core value to us so clearly, is that church has never been about a location, that church has never been about a building, that church has never been about this event called doing the Sunday morning gathering. And it's so cool to see how we've kind of lived that out recently over the past few weeks, that we continue to gather together. We continue to find creative ways to meet and creative ways to be the church in a time like this that has nothing to do with this new building that God had gifted us. Isn't that so cool too? That in the midst of the campaign that we did to build this building and to see this come to fruition, in the midst of that, God is saying, I'm going to take some time away from this building to remind you, church, that it's not about this building. It was never about this building. It was about you being the church and worshiping and glorifying me. And so, yet at the same time, I think this pandemic has shown us how important gathering is. You know, that there is a certain face-to-face physical interaction that a Zoom meeting just can't reproduce for us, right? And so gathering, face-to-face interaction, physical interaction is so important for us as the church as well. And then to verse 24, I would just urge you this, church, is that nowhere in the Bible does it say that the church is about you. And I say that with all love, and I say that to myself. I preach that to myself, is that the church is not about us. We gather as the church first and foremost to worship God, never to worship ourselves, because we are not worthy of praise. He alone is worthy of the glory and the praise. And so we gather to encourage and to spur one another on as well towards those love and good deeds, and especially for the lost, to spur them on towards a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that kind of centers around our core value that the church does not exist for us. We are the church and we exist for the world. And then I'll kind of land here is that during these days, people everywhere are looking for a hope to believe in, a faith to put their trust in, right? Some good news in the midst of this time. And church, I would just remind us that we have it, that we have that good news. We have that hope. We have that faith that can withstand it all. And so let the world look at us, church. Let the world look at us and how we have this hope that's unswerving. Let the world look at us and how we continue to meet together creatively and continue to gather and to be the church. And let that point them to a faith and a hope and a trust in Jesus Christ. So thank you guys again so much for spending some time with us. I hope that this encouraged you and just kind of, showed you the mission that we have for gathering together and being the church. We love you guys so much and can't wait to see you.